Welcome to the OtherWorldsGG Community Cast. This is episode number 47. I am Table for Two, and I'm joined by Mellified Alien Pickle, and we're just going to talk shop today. Here's what we're going to do. You guys ready for this? How y'all doing?
Doing great. This is Mellified. It is, just life is flying by. We're almost at the end of January when we're recording this. In 2022. What happened to 2020? I'm still confused. I don't know.
It's amazing that it's been 2 years since the start of all of this nonsense. But we don't have to go down that road. But I'm just saying, like, it's been a wild like year or two here, for sure. But yeah. So in our last news show, we went in on the Microsoft potentially acquiring the Activision Blizzard stuff. And that's such an interesting move, and it's an interesting flex that I don't think a lot of people were expecting. We knew that Microsoft was still on the lookout to make other purchases, and I think one of the interesting statements that Phil Spencer made early on with the Activision Blizzard stuff was that he said they were reevaluating their partnerships with Activision Blizzard, or their how they work with them or something like that. And then here we are like 4 months later, pow, we're gonna buy them. That's what we're gonna do to reevaluate our interaction with them. We're gonna purchase these guys, and it's
just a lot more than I had hoped for. I was just hoping for at least a mercy killing.
Yeah, or something.
Yeah, it's just we're just gonna throw some money at them so we can shut them down and just put them out of their misery.
Yeah, I think that Microsoft buying them is probably going to be the best thing for them in the long run. I think that a resurgence of old titles could be a good thing to breathe life into the marketplace on some old IPs that have gone stale and just aren't being used, or maybe even being used to the best of their ability. I think seeing more retro titles come out. I know that Blizzard and Microsoft and some other studios have done some work with GOG to put out old retro titles again, which I think is great. I'd like to think that if they make this purchase official sometime next year, that they actually do that. That we'll see more of that kind of stuff. The thing that I've always argued, and because I know Activision was a big part in Star Trek games of the past, is and I know that they've recently done some, but I'd like to see more of the Star Trek titles. Like, where is Klingon Academy? Can anybody explain that to me? And that might not even be on Activision's plate, but I know that it's somewhere in that wheelhouse. It's a thing. So. Bring out the Klingon Academy, if you will. That'd be a nice.
Well, who knows? I mean, the licensing on anything like that's got to be insane. But GOG managed to figure it out for, a dozen other titles. So
here's the fix: Lego Klingon Academy.
Oh no!
Oh god!
Oh yes! Oh yes!
Kapla! Yeah,
dude, I would totally buy some Lego Star Trek things. Like, they've done Star Wars, but they have not done Star Trek, and I think they could have a lot of fun with Star Trek.
I'm going to agree with you there, and it's interesting because Jim, you and I have talked. I don't know whether on this show or not, but in chats in the past, like, we've talked about like collectibles and stuff like that. Like Micro Machines did the Action Fleet for Star Wars, for example. And there was like the miniature Star Wars ship models and stuff like that. But Micro Machines also did stuff for Star Trek as well. There was a bunch of.
I owned a bunch of those ships because I used to play Starfleet Battles tabletop back in the day, and that was the cheapest, best way to get ships for Starfleet Battles. Like, especially if you were playing Feds or Klingons.
They had the mini ones. I actually have a mini like D7 Micro Machine model that's like about 2 inches long or whatever. But
they were exactly the scale. If you bought the miniatures, like instead of a $10 pewter thing, You get a
but
pack of those, and they were the same.
So there was two different variations on what Micro Machines did. Micro Machines did the miniatures that were like 1 inch to 2 inch long, but they also had like the other like playset ships too that were like maybe like 6 inches long or more.
I never saw those for Star Trek though.
I have some. I actually have some.
Wow.
Maybe I'll bust out some pictures on our toys channel. We do have a toys and collectibles channel.
I feel that you need to do that. Yes.
Yeah, I'll get some pictures and I'll post those in our. So if you're interested, come on over to our Discord, discord.otherworlds.gg, and I'll post some pictures of the Star Trek ones that I have. But what's funny about the Star Trek ones is they were like, you know, back in the 90s, they had like the play sets, right? It was like toys play sets for kids was a huge thing. Like these little miniature things that were like, it was like a toy that would like open up to like be a play set for whatever. So Micro Machines did that for some of the Star Wars stuff. So like they did like Stormtrooper helmets that would open up and it would be like whatever, or there was like the Darth Vader head that would open up and it would be the Empire Strikes Back scene where like Luke goes through the glass at the end of Empire Strikes Back, you know. Like there was stuff like that Micro Machines did. And I even have like a giant Millennium Falcon. You guys, we're video chatting as we're doing the audio of this, but I'm going to pan over. So if you guys look at my video, there's a Millennium Falcon right there that actually opens up to a giant playset. Do you see that on my video here? And so right next to it, God, Jim, see the backwards camera thing? Mm-hmm. So right next to it, that's a Hoth playset that would open up right there. And then there's the Millennium Falcon right there. So I know we're supposed to be talking about video games, but I think the point is like there is a lot that Legos as an IP could be doing more in the gaming space to do that kind of stuff. I would totally play a Star Trek Lego thing like you're talking about. I'm really looking forward to this new Skywalker Saga Lego game. It does look a little bit more compelling than other Lego games. I feel like there's some different mechanics. There's new fighting mechanics. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Definitely looks really nice. It looks very polished, very modern in its design and graphics. Yeah. So
yeah. I feel like Lego, when the Lego games were coming out for a long time, they felt like they had to be kid friendly, and so they kept them very, very, very simple. And that's why we don't have multiplayer. That's why they were only, 2-player co-op, local only, was because it had to be kid friendly. And I feel like they've finally sort of realized like everybody loves these games, so we can, make them more than just a kid's game.
Yeah, and Jim's actually posted a couple of pictures here of some of these Micro Machine things, by the way. I think that's another interesting thing that we don't see a lot of is I'm actually taking a screenshot of this one here. I also have this Shuttle Galileo in my collection somewhere. I have one of those. So but I do miss the toy tie-ins on stuff, everything's gone so digital that toys are kind of like not as much of a thing as they used to be like when we were younger. Because everything's like video game tie-ins, but I feel like if you're going to do video game tie-ins, the ideal thing is like a Lego thing. It just makes so much sense.
McFarlane Toys still does some pretty cool action figures if that's your thing.
Well, and I feel like action figures though have gone into the realm of collecting rather than being actual toys for kids, if that makes any sense.
Yes. And I'm kind of stinky attitude about that. I think that's kind of not great, right? Because kids can't get toys because the adults are haunting the toy aisle like the minute the crate opens because they have to get in there and like pick through the, like I used to date a girl that ran the toy section in the Walmart locally, and it was crazy. She said like even the Hot Wheels collectors would come in there and they knew like when did the truck show up and when are you going to unbox it, and they were waiting because like in every crate there's going to be like one or two of that special car that they have. So it's like if you're a kid, like good luck, you're never going to see this.
Yeah.
there's a lot of that. I mean, I know like when episode 1 came out for Star Wars, there was a big craze about like all of these new Star Wars toys, and I've seen some of like it's almost like an episode of Hoarders where you see these people that would go in and buy like, you know, five copies of like a Luke Skywalker action figure so that they can have one for their collection, one that they open up, and then like 3 that they sell online at like jacked up prices, right? You know, because they have to have one that stays in the box, but they also want to be able to open it up and like
yeah. Well, and do like dioramas
pose
and
it,
pose
and,
it.
yeah. And so it's very strange, but that's why I think like the Lego stuff is interesting, because when you do the Lego games, you can actually then go to Lego's store and buy some of these things. So like, you know, like you're flying, you know, you're flying the Millennium Falcon in a Lego game. Well, guess what, kid? You can go to the store and actually buy the Millennium Falcon and like put it together and play with it.
Yeah, if you got $800, because
that's
Lego
the
stuff ain't cheap.
That's the super collectible Millennium Falcon thing. They do have a $70 Lego set for Millennium Falcon that's way more reasonable, but I do kind of miss that. I mean, I know we've kind of like switched topics here a little bit in this chat, but I just said we were going to shoot the breeze, you know, not really have a straight up topic. But I think the realm of gaming in the digital space of doing tie-in things that are fun with media, I do think that Lego has a good opportunity there to do more, and especially with the latest episode of the Book of Boba Fett. So by the time this comes out, the show will have been out for the episode will have been out for a few weeks. So I don't mind, but I'm going to do a little spoiler warning for anybody who's like crazy.
Wah, 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 wah. Spoiler.
Right. So like in this latest episode, it's all about the Mandalorian and not Boba Fett, right? And the Mandalorian gets a new ship, and his new ship is a modified version of the N1 Naboo starfighter, and they go into some lore about it, which is pretty cool. But what was interesting is the memes on Twitter afterwards were like, you know, Lego executives looking at the new starship going, you know, like, you know, they're gonna make bank off of that, right? Like we
lost Hunter completely.
Did you guys lose me?
Yeah, we lost you for just a minute.
Oh, weird. Well, thankfully the recording's still going on this end. So, but I was making the joke about how like the Lego executives seeing the new N1 Naboo starfighter, getting excited about now we're going to be able to build this and sell it, you know, because they'll have a new Lego set that they can sell. And that's 100% true, right? Because there's going to be the collectors that are going to get it, the kids are going to want to get their hands on it. And that's become kind of like, and what's interesting about Lego is it's kind of become like the de facto model kit. You know, model kits used to be a thing. You know, action figures and other toy things and play sets used to be a thing. And I feel like Lego has kind of taken both of those ideas and kind of combined it all into like one thing now. And I'm not immune to this. Like I've got a Lego Boba Fett head on my shelf over here. I've got the collectible Lego TIE Fighter in my office at work, the one that's like, you know, 1.5 feet tall, you know, the really big guy. I've got that sitting on my desk at my office.
That's like the only one that they ever did the wings that were actually in proportion.
And it was they had to specially engineer it too because of how heavy they were so that they wouldn't break off. So there's a whole YouTube video that you can go out there and find where Lego had to engineer how to build these wings without breaking the Lego set. Because it sits on a stand and those wings are heavy, and so they don't bend in at all. They actually stay straight up and down because of the way they had to engineer it. So I also have like an unopened Baby Yoda Lego set that my wife got for me for Christmas a couple years back. And so I've got like a Lego Star Destroyer somewhere. I've got like a Lego Mos Eisley Cantina somewhere. And those things aren't put together. Those are still in their boxes somewhere. I'll eventually get to them, but you know, it's just
I have the $700 Star Destroyer.
Oh, the big
in the box
big one?
sitting here, the big one.
Yeah.
And my intent is to build it, right? But it's 2 feet long. Where the hell do I put that?
Now, is that the Star Destroyer or the Super Star Destroyer?
Not the Super Star Destroyer. Just the Star Destroyer.
Yeah,
they did a big version of it.
Yeah, the Super Star Destroyer is like 4 feet long or something like that.
4.5 feet. Yeah, it was huge. Right. I know people who built a coffee table, like took an old aquarium, put that in there, and then put like a piece of wood on top and made it a coffee table.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would do
Which
that.
is a great way to display it. Yeah, but they put like LED lights around the inside so it would
Yeah.
light up and you could see it. It was very cool.
Yeah.
But I don't have space for it right now, so I'm planning on putting shelving in this room, so I'll have some place to like display all that cool stuff. But not there yet. I mean, I really think Lego games are a way to make these franchises more accessible. It, like, especially the Lego Star Wars games, made a lot of fun of the Star Wars movies. I felt like they kind of were very tongue in cheek and, you know, had some kind of fourth wall breaking moments and things like that where they just seemed to have fun with it. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'd be interested to see, you know, how it keeps going. But with collectible stuff, I know, like, we tend to get a lot of the kind of more interesting sets. Like, there's a Lego Ideas set that's a typewriter that I have sitting in the box. We did like the blacksmith, the treehouse, and kind of my new thing is a lot of those sets, there are third-party LED light kits that you can add to them that make, like, you actually integrate the lights into the build and it lights up different portions of it. So the Thanos gauntlet from Marvel, you can get it where it lights up all of the Infinity Stones, which just, you know, if you're gonna have it sitting on a shelf, like, that adds some visual to the whole thing. So I thought that's been kind of neat.
Did you see the meme? It had like the Infinity Gauntlet, and then it was like, this is what corporate expected, and then they have like a yellow rubber dishes glove with like colored gummy bears glued onto it, and it was like, this is the actual budget we got.
Oh no.
God. That's funny.
Oh man, it was funny.
Yeah, well, so anyway, I do think the lighting kits are kind of a fun way to jazz it up, but I also have a ridiculously LED computer, so, you know, what do I know?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm all about RGB.
And I'm not trying to knock on like the collectors and stuff like that too, but I for me, I don't collect just to have like the biggest collection or to collect all of a thing. Or, you know, I know like growing up there was this whole thing about like, you know, you can to have like a stamp collection, or you can have like a quarter collection, or you can have like a bug collection, you know, things that like our parents or grandparents probably did. It's an interesting concept. I collect because of like the sentimental value of a thing. And so I collect specifics, right? So like I have probably like 6 Super Nintendo games, but that's all I have. I don't plan on buying any other Super Nintendo games. You know, because I don't feel like I need the whole like North American release of Super Nintendo. Like, where the hell am I going to put it? 2, if I have to move, that's a lot to move. You know, so it's like, you know, I don't own my house currently, so it's like, hey, you know, at any point in time I might have to like root up. But, you know, I also appreciate like, you know, the little things. So I used to love, that's what I loved about some of the game collecting stuff is when collector's editions had a lot of interesting stuff in them. I mean, even back in the big box PC days, if I can say my words, you know, you'd get like manuals and posters and all kinds of things. Even the game manuals had some kind of like a lore thing in them, not just telling you how to play the game, but there was usually information about what it is that you were playing, right? So, you know, like I have the collector's editions of like the StarCraft 2 games. I have Star Wars Galaxies, or I have Star Wars The Old Republic. I have the EVE Online second edition or second decade collector's edition. You know, these kinds of things I think are becoming less and less, and I kind of miss that. I miss finding the collector's edition for a thing, or doing like a reservation for it. But even recently I was looking at some game that was coming out where there was a PlayStation release, there was an Xbox release, and then there was going to be a PC release, but only the consoles, only the Xbox and the PlayStation were getting big box physical collector's editions, and the PC version was getting a digital collector's edition thing, and they weren't releasing anything special for them. And I thought that was a little unfortunate, because I was just like, well, what about, if I want a collector's edition of this thing, I guess I gotta have to go out and get the console version of it in order to have some cool collector's item for this thing that I would really like to have. And I think that's kind of silly. So, Melified, I can't hear you. You're on mute, buddy.
It's interesting you bring up game collector's editions, because I feel like I have gone between two extremes with them. I used to try and get, every collector's edition, and I have some that are considered extremely rare. The original, not Mass Effect, the original horror space game that EA did. Oh my god, I'm blanking on the name.
Dead Effect? No. I think I know which one you're
it'll
talking
come to
about.
me. But yeah, it was Dead something. Dead Space.
Dead Space. Yeah, Dead Space.
Yeah, I have the original Dead Space collector's edition, which is goes for $1,200 last time I looked.
Wow.
Because they're just super, super rare for whatever reason. But I later in the last generation and earlier in this generation, I kind of stopped just because they were getting stupid. Really, really dumb. And most of the time they were just throwing in a resin statue and jacking the price up $300, right? Now, some of the interesting ones I've picked up, I link in our Toys and Collectibles channel. I picked these up on clearance off Amazon. And if you're willing to roll the dice, I've found that that's actually the best way to get a lot of these, because you can kind of pick the one you want, but the Destroy All Humans Crypto 137 edition was originally $400. It includes a Cryptosporidium, the gray alien backpack that it makes it look like he's perched on your shoulders. It comes with a big statue. It comes with a bunch of other, art book and, little stress toy and keychain and all that crap. But the big sellers are the statue and the backpack. But it was $400, and I picked it up for $90 on clearance. Now that's still a lot of money, especially because I already had bought the game digitally, so I don't care about the physical release. But it wasn't something I had to have. But
right,
so I didn't want to pay full price, but I thought that was a pretty
and that's
good deal
interesting
at $90.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, because that's exactly what happened to me with the Old Republic, the Star Wars MMO. I originally, I was part of the beta, and I originally, purchased. I was thinking about getting the collector's edition, but I just went ahead and got the original one. And then years later, I was looking around and I saw an unopened one still sealed for $80, and I picked it up, and it still had an unused code that I was able to apply to my account because the game's still active. So I got all the the collector's edition in-game items and stuff too. On top of that, I also I'm not one of these people that likes to keep things wrapped up. So I used to have the Malgus statue displayed at my old apartment, for example, that comes with the collector's edition. There's a couple other things that it comes with too that are really neat, an art book and a MFA code keychain device, which was pretty cool. But yeah, and I know Blizzard notoriously for years used to put out some really good quality collector's edition sets. I've got all the StarCraft 2 ones. I have both of the Diablo 3 and the Diablo 3 expansion collector's edition. I would have loved to have gotten in on the ground level of getting all of the World of Warcraft ones, because those had some really stellar stuff going on with those.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you can buy used ones, but in my mind, because it's an active game, buying anything that doesn't have the code in it, to me, is just an incomplete set. So I don't bother. It's something that I look at and I think to myself, I don't need it because I'm not going to be able to get it.
Right.
But other things like the EVE Online Second Genesis one was really cool because it actually came with a Minmatar Rifter, which is a frigate, but it was a USB hub. So on the back where the engines are, there's 4 USB ports where you can plug it in and it becomes like a USB hub for your computer. So you have this like ship model sitting on your desk that's actually a USB hub. And I thought that was a really cool, or you can just leave it sitting on your desk without, using it as practically speaking. It's a really cool ship model that you can leave sitting on your desk. But I think collector's editions are a very rare thing, or at least they're not as common, or maybe in a lot of cases the quality. I mean, look at the snafu that happened with Fallout 76 with the whole
God,
here get this really cool swink bag that's like not what we. It was supposed to. What was it supposed to be? It was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be canvas. So it was supposed to be like fabric, and they gave like a nylon.
Yeah, and it was like what So like the snafu with that was kind of a big deal. And I've talked to because like Jim and I play Guild Wars 2 from time to time, but like I've got the Guild Wars 2 collector's box set, which has a big action figure model in it. I still have. From BioShock, the original BioShock, I have over here, and I'm going to try and see if I can't pan this camera again for you guys watching. But I've got the Big Daddy sitting there on the shelf right in front of me.
Oh, nice.
5. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and I've got a pretty decent big box. It's quaint, but this is like my PC collection over here. It's like 2 or 3 shelves, and
well, and it's funny because I feel like the publishers have either gone so big that it's just ridiculous, right? They're doing these $400 collector's editions, or they don't do anything, and or if they do, it's garbage, right? I have one of the early Call of Duty collector's editions that has an RC car in it. Wow. The collector's edition was a full working RC car because in the game you had one that you drove around and blew people up with. Right. I have another Call of Duty collector's one, the early one, that had working night vision goggles.
I remember this. Yes. I remember this one, yes.
Now, to be fair, what it actually is it's an infrared flashlight and then like an infrared camera. So if you were to use it in a real military situation, somebody would see your giant, infrared flashlight in their night vision, and they just shoot you in the face. But it's still cool, right?
Right.
So like those were really neat to me because it was such a unique take on it. And like Gears of War, I have the Lancer replica, the full size rifle with the chainsaw on the front of it. So like those were the ones that blew me away because they were so cool. And the only ones that I see now that kind of come to that level, other than a few odd ones here and there, are the limited run games stuff.
And so, but the interesting thing about limited run games, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Limited run games is an interesting organization because they're not the actual company that they're doing the games for. They're a third party company that are doing these things. And while the stuff that they put out I think is actually really cool, and I was looking at their oh god, what's the name of that game? Chex Quest. They actually were putting out a Chex Quest of all things, originally free in a cereal box. They're doing a collector's edition like big box release over on limited run games. And I know that they're getting the license and they're releasing it with the approval of all this other stuff, but part of me still feels like it's an inauthentic. It's like somebody else's idea of a collector's edition for somebody else. If that makes any sense, like that's like it's hard for me to wrap my brain around the originality of the thing, if that makes any sense. So
okay, but so go do me a favor, go into our Toys and Collectibles channel and go scroll up to the November 19th mega bundle link I posted. It's at the bottom of the limited run Star Wars games. And then click through the PC. If you click on in the description, there's Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Master Edition for PC. If you open up the art for that, right, it'll show you everything that's included. So you are getting the actual game on CD, no DRM, no patch required, right? It's the original game on a disc. which is so rare these days on its own. You get a replica Pazak set, the card game, a Vibroblade letter opener, a Darth Revan miniature hilt replica set, the strategy guide with a premium foil hardcover. You get, a commemorative light side, dark side coin. You get a USB drive that looks like the security spike. You get a little pin of the ship. Some art, the nice box, the concept art cards, the little lithographs. But okay, you're never going to get all of that stuff elsewhere, especially for a game like Knights of the Old Republic that's, several years old. But as far as I know, the original game didn't ever come out with a collector's edition. So, I hear what you're saying, that limited run is sort of this third party, but it is licensed and it is approved. It's not like it's unauthorized. But it's also some really cool stuff, at least on some of the sets. Some of them are just a fancy box, and the game, is in the box, which is cool. But I don't care about owning the physical game as much. But I like the little, tchotchkes and stuff, just because they're cool and they remind me of the game, and that's what I get excited about, I guess.
Sure, and all that's fair. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to, I've looked through some of this stuff myself and gone, man, that's actually really cool. But it feels like collecting for the sake of collecting, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, but again, I love the Star Wars PC games, right? So I had the opportunity to get a full set of the classic Star Wars PC game limited run game boxes. And most of the normal ones are, I would say basically just a box. There's a couple art cards and there's maybe one little tchotchke in there, but it's basically just the game in a nice box, right? So for me, that's fine. That doesn't bother me. Because I'm going to put that up on my shelf as a display item. I'm not as concerned with it, but it means something to me, right? Because
sure,
I look at
fair.
that.
That's fair.
I look at Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 box on my shelf, and I'm like, oh man, I remember playing that game, and
yeah. See, I'm coming from the opposite side, where I don't even have physical media. All my DVDs of games and stuff I've given to people. And it's just I'm just digital only at this point. And whenever I look at collectible stuff, it's that's pretty cool, but then I'd have to put it somewhere.
Yeah, so. I mean, that's definitely, you have to display it. I have a space that I am working towards making display, but I have this helmet, which is from Mass Effect, right? This is the N7 helmet that your character wears in the games. And it's fully wearable. It has lights in it. It does all kinds of cool stuff. And I mean, this is totally useless, right? I can't do anything with this. It's not like a motorcycle helmet I can wear.
I'd be concerned because I have a big old noggin, and most hats don't even fit me. So
well, but I'm going to put this up on the shelf on, as a display item. I'm not, and I have room to do that, or I will have room to do that. So that makes sense to me, but
and I again, sometimes collecting for the sake of collecting is kind of weird to me, but I also get it too at the same time, because I've got on display a whole bunch of Star Wars ship models that I've also had them for a long time and played with them as a kid, but now I just have them out because I think they're cool just to display, because I'm not going to sit on the floor like a child and play with them because I'm not a child anymore.
Well, but I have, I have the Mass Effect helmet, I have the Doom helmet, and I have the Mandalorian or the Boba Fett helmet. And to me, those are all significant because I like those characters, or I like that game, or I like that world.
But you're not going to go out and collect all helmets, right? You're not going to get everything from
God, no.
And that's what I'm getting at. I'm in that camp. That's the camp that I get in. I get only very specific things. And sometimes the limited run stuff is they're really cool, but man, when I'm looking at this Knights of the Old Republic thing, first of all, I didn't know they were doing this, one, so I need to make an account and get on their newsletter. But two, some of the stuff in here is actually kind of swank, like the Ebon Hawk metal pin, the security spike USB drive that's fully functional is pretty slick looking.
I really liked the Pazak set, right? Because that was a
And
game that you play.
that was gonna be my third thing. Is I would really like to get my hands on an actual like Pazak set, because like one of the things that came inside the EVE Online the second decade was an original board game that CCP made before they made EVE. So it was like this rare board game that you really can't get anywhere else that they released with this collector's edition. And so it's things like that that I find interesting. Like I would love to get my hands on like a 3D chess set from Star Trek, you know, because I think that's fascinating to me, and I would love to have that. One, it's a conversation piece because it's just like cool. But you know, we don't, you know, I have enough stuff on my own that we could decorate the rest of this house. Like, you know, but
yes,
you know.
yes. Well, and but I'm like Jim in that I've gotten rid of most of my physical media, but I like the collector's editions. And some of them I actually regret. Like, I think they were very poorly done. There was one for the early remake of Wolfenstein, and I remember it so clearly because all the collector's edition ended up really having was a resin dog, like a resin model of the dog, the armored dog from the game, which was not all that interesting. But it was one of the collector's editions that did something that made a ton of sense to me that I haven't seen anyone else do, which is the game was not included in the collector's edition.
That is weird. There was one. Go ahead.
Good. Well, I was just saying the reason I don't think it is weird is because like I bought the Battlefield 1 collector's edition way after the game had been out because it was up on Woot, and they went in and opened them and pulled the games out and sold the games separately because they could still get, you know, $10-20 for the game, but nobody wanted this giant box with a statue and stuff in it. So they split up the bundle, but a lot of times what I see, especially like the ones that I was talking about earlier, Biomutant and Destroy All Humans, it was a specific platform that didn't sell as well as they expected. So that's why it was on clearance. The Xbox version was on clearance, but not the PS4. Or the Switch version didn't sell well, so they've got a bunch of extra of those, so they discount them to get rid of them. If you don't include the game, then you don't have that problem of having to guess how many collector's editions you need to make for each platform. And the other time that I've seen this done was actually Mass Effect Legendary Edition, the collector's edition, which is where that helmet I showed earlier came from. That one was also no game included. It was just you buy the collector's edition from the website of the studio. Like you had to go to BioWare's website and buy it. They didn't sell it in stores, and you didn't get the game. But I was okay with that because I already bought the game digitally. I don't want the physical game. I want.
Well, I feel like
So what about
that's what they
is
should have done for this other game that I was talking about? I forget the name of it, but there was one that was coming out on all the platforms, and there was just not one for the PC, which I thought was weird. So anyway,
So I've seen where the people making toys, right? Like Hasbro did a thing where they were like, "Hey, we can make this giant transformer of Ultra whatever, the planet guy, right?" And it was like, "We're going to make this thing, but only if we get enough pre-orders to actually make it worth doing." So it was like people ordered this thing like a year in advance. And then I saw like the reason that I even learned it existed is I saw a video, like a guy unboxing the thing and putting it together. And yeah, that thing was pretty damn impressive. Like I've never seen a toy that was that intricate, but it was like a $400 transformer, right? So, but it's a thing of like, well, what about like whenever they make these collectibles for games and stuff, like it doesn't necessarily have to even be promotional for the game at the time. You know, it's like they could do it ahead of time for like funding of the thing, or they could do it after the fact. Like whoever owns the rights to Ratchet and Clank, it's like, hey, do you want a Ratchet and Clank statue? Like everybody that wants one, if there's going to be a demand for it, like order them now, and if we get enough, we're going to make it. If not, it doesn't happen. And that way they don't end up making a bunch of stuff and then having to offload it at a discount.
Well, that's what I felt bad about the original Titanfall, right? Because I was debating on whether or not to get the collector's edition for the original Titanfall, and then I decided against it, and I got the game, and I was so disappointed in the game, the first one, because there was zero campaign. Their campaign stuff was all multiplayer stuff anyway, and it was just like these mission rounds over and over. And a lot of people were kind of disappointed with the original Titanfall, but it came with the collector's edition had this huge like statue thing in it that's really badass. Now Titanfall 2 is really awesome. So it's almost like maybe if I just go back and get this Titanfall 1 thing, it'll justify it because I like Titanfall 2 so much. But
yeah, so they did like the statue. It was like a big resin statue of one of the Titans, but the one that they sent to the press was like 3 times the size of that. I saw one because Escapist magazine had their offices here in town, and I dropped in there to visit them one day. And they had the Titanfall like full size thing, and it was like waist high sitting on the floor. It was huge, right?
Wow.
And it was like the same statue, but like triple the size. But where the hell would you put that as a real person, right? So I could see it like whenever you walk in their door, it was like there prominently.
Mellified told us once, and he might have talked about it on the show, but it might have been behind closed doors, but talking about working for Blizzard and how you could they had like a life-size statue of one of like the night elves or something like that.
Yeah, the night elf huntress.
Yeah, and like you could actually buy it like as an employee or whatever it was.
It was a mannequin, like a full mannequin, full size. She was 5'2", and we had them in a couple of them around the campus, but you could have bought them as an employee for like $400, which actually is pretty cheap.
Yeah, and I think to myself, it's like, I mean, I think about people who have collections where they have like full size like Darth Vaders or full size like sets, and it's funny because I think back to the days of Star Wars Galaxies where you could like customize your home, and people would display armor sets throughout their home, or they'd have like NPCs wearing armor sets as like vendors like in their vendor shop or something like that. It was like these collectors things. I played the Legends server the other day, and I went to this guy's shop, and he had customized outfits for like cosplaying in Star Wars Galaxies as like Marvel superheroes based on like the color and like the palette of a thing. You could be like the Green Lantern, or you could be like he did some kind of like Batman get up looking thing that was kind of goofy, but it was like this idea of being able to customize and mix and match the clothing based on color and stuff like that in that game, as like collecting things in the game for out of the game stuff. Like it was interesting. People get really weird about collecting.
Yes.
And about loot.
Yes,
you know,
do.
the idea about loot and stuff like that.
So 2 things. The first is the Jim was talking earlier about the crazy transformer. This is the other super duper crazy transformer here. The fully robotic, automatically transforming Optimus Prime that they did. Robosen is the Japanese company that actually makes it for Hasbro. And it's just cool because it's an actual robot. It's super finicky and kind of a pain in the ass to actually display because it doesn't.
Yeah, but it's like you hit a button and it's like whop 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 whop, and it turns into a robot, right? Yep. And it's like, okay, well that's what it does. So
yeah, but that's kind of its only purpose, right? It can dance and do some other silly stuff, but yeah, it's cool because it actually transforms itself. But so. If you look in Toys and Collectibles, I just posted a link to something. After World of Warcraft launched, it was, a crazy time at Blizzard. It was a crazy amount of work and long hours and everything else. And I wanted something to commemorate that because it was such a big part of my life for many, many years. And so I got in touch with a gentleman by the name of Richard Nagy, who is known as Datamancer, and he was known for making custom props steampunk style. And if you remember the sci-fi show Warehouse 13,
I do. Yes.
he did all of the props for that. So like all the retro future technology stuff. And he was based in LA in Southern California. So I got in touch with him and commissioned a custom keyboard. And I have a link to the video of the lid that's actually in my office where that video is taken. When I was at Blizzard. So you can see my sword in the background and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was that was something really special to me that I wanted specifically to commemorate the event. And what you can't see in this video, because it was just showing off the gears, on the back side of that's the top of the keyboard, the inside of the top. So if you close up the keyboard, on the top of it is a stained glass with blue and red elements to it that's supposed to represent the Horde and the Alliance. So it was, and I still have it. I mean, it's something I'll never part with. But the crazy thing is, I don't even know how much that thing would be worth today, because unfortunately, Richard died in a car accident shortly after he made this.
Oh no.
So yeah. There's someone, he had an apprentice that took over the business that still, does this stuff, but the original guy unfortunately has passed away now. He was quite an interesting character. He actually was really into body mods. So he surgically implanted magnets.
Say that again. He was into body mods, right?
Yeah, body modding.
Okay.
So he surgically implanted magnets into his fingertips, so he could feel electric currents in wires, because he could feel the pull of the magnet as it was, traveling, picking up the electricity. Like, just wacky stuff, right? So it's a very, very interesting guy, but really, really sad story. But like, this is one of 50 that he built himself. So like, I don't even know what that's worth. To the right person, and probably quite a bit. But it's the same way with a lot of the Blizzard stuff. Like, we had if they did a statue for the public, Blizzard did some of the really expensive $400 resin statues that they would sell through collectible shops. They would do a run of those, and they would do 1,000, right? Or 10,000, or however many, and they would all be numbered. But then they would do a separate run with separate numbering that were the employee edition. And as an employee, you were able to buy one of those. So we would have, one of 500 or one of 400 of these super limited edition statues, which again, sort of to the right collector would be worth quite a bit.
Yeah, no.
So there is that crazy high end market for these collectibles that that's the part I don't understand, is like somebody buying. We've seen stories on the show before about people buying like a Super Mario cartridge for the SNES, or was it Mario 64? They found one unopened in the back of a display case or something, and they were going to sell it for like thousands and thousands of dollars. And somebody paid $100,000 for one of the Mario carts, I remember. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't love anything that much. I barely love my family that much to pay that for a house. Like,
right.
Come on.
Well, and that's the funny.
When the ransom note comes in for the kid, it's like, all right, well, hey, can you kind of come down to a realistic level on this? Because
yeah, like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that's interesting that you mentioned that, because like for me, the only time I look for an unopened thing is if I'm trying to find something that is still prevalent. So for example, like the SWOTOR thing, I bought that because it was unopened and still had the key intact, and I was like, oh, that's still a usable thing to me. But then I also, within the last like 6 months, bought a Star Wars Galaxies Collector's Edition that had everything in it. But again, that game doesn't exist anymore, so if the key's used or not, it doesn't matter to me.
Right.
And so those kinds of things are important. But like if like, if there's collector's editions of things out there that don't have any value, or don't have any existence, I'll consider buying them at especially if it's in good condition, some of like the more rare stuff. But I'm trying to think
and that
if
makes perfect sense.
I'm just waiting
Absolutely.
until Captain Crunch has like free NFT in every box.
oh my god.
No. Well, that's okay. So this is where this is going, right? Is NFTs are an attempt to create, uniqueness out of things that are sort of commonplace or commodities.
No, it's actually
Um,
thin air. Like I just made up a serial number and I'll sell it to you. Because the thing that the
Basically.
NFT serial is attached to is not actually owned by you. That's
Right.
the weirdness, right? So like I could say here's an NFT represented by a picture of your shoe. That doesn't mean I own your shoe. So yeah, it's weird. But you did give me a hell of an idea though for like a YouTube channel and such, right? So like you could take any kind of thrift store find of an oddity, like here's a weird salt shaker that looks like a retarded elephant or something, right? And then you make up some kind of SCP story about how it's actually a cursed object, and and then you sell that thing with some sort of statement of authenticity, that it's actually like a cursed object, whatever, and then sell it for hundreds of dollars to collectors.
There you go.
just like regurgitate like thrift store junk by spinning a story and just attaching like a parchment with this story to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be like a birth certificate for a Cabbage Patch Kid. But here's like the ghost certificate for the haunted lamp.
Oh my god. I mean, you're absolutely right. It could totally work.
And then you start like a traveling museum of haunted objects, and then just drive in your van from town to town selling them.
My wife and I are huge fans of the movie Groundhog Day, and Groundhog Day, of course, is coming up. It'll probably be after this show airs, but we watched it again last night, in fact, and
that's funny. We almost watched it last night ourselves. That's
did
funny.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, so like where was I going with this? Talking about like the haunted objects reminded me of the clock that he wakes up to every morning. There is a project online where you can get like an Arduino and have it play the audio from the movie when he wakes up as the alarm on the clock. But you have to find one of those clocks to modify to do this, and they are impossible to find. Like, I was thinking it's a friggin' 30-year-old clock. Like, I mean, it's not going to be common, but they should be available. Because it's so popular, they're completely sold out, and if you can find them, they're like $300.
Wow.
And
yeah,
so,
the market, the way markets work, because it's desired by somebody, there's going to be a price to it.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. Like I did the Kickstarter for the Cyan, who is famously known for Myst. They did a Kickstarter campaign for releasing all of their games, because I guess they finally got all of the rights things in order, because for like a little while there, like they were developing some of their games, and I think maybe
Aspire or
somebody else got involved at one point, but they were still working on them, but it was like another company was involved. And so they did this whole Kickstarter thing to release all of their games, and they were working on a digital project to release all the games digitally. But this Kickstarter, they had different tiers, and I was considering going for one of the even higher ones, but the tier that I got on gave us a replica of the actual Myst book that you can open up, and it's got like a little LCD screen in it that plays like the intro to the Myst game or whatever, and it's got little drawers in it that actually have the physical games on DVDs and sleeves in it. It's got some other hidden drawers in there too, where you could like put other things in there. But you can even load up a different. They give you instructions where you can load up they have different videos for the different games that you can apply, but you can put your own video on there. So like you can like put it in there and do like a wedding video or something like that. Like, or you could do some kind of other sentimental like thing that plays anytime you open up the book on the little screen there. Or you can be dirty and do something different with it. But yeah, surprise, but
so I like, that is so cool to me, but it just, I don't know. Like, I want to collect stuff that, like we were talking about, that has meaning to me, and I don't care if other people are excited about it as much. Like, if it's special to me. So like, I love custom controllers, right? All the crazy.
I can get behind that. Yeah.
So I have like a little display up in my window of some of the Xbox custom controllers that they've done. I have the Thieves one, which is one of my favorites because it's the right trigger is gold plated, like not real gold, but like gold colored, because it's supposed to be the gold tooth in the pirate's mouth.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so it's just like clever little thing, right?
I really want one of those Hyperkin Duke controllers. Is what I really want.
The one that lights up and plays the Xbox startup thing.
Yes.
I have the original one, and I have a set of the Halo anniversary ones coming, because the Halo anniversary ones come in, I think it's black, white, and Cortana purple or something, even though she's blue in the game.
Well, she was purple in the original Halo.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So it's I have those, but those, they don't play the original Xbox boot up animation. They actually play a Halo animation. So I'm excited to get those for sure.
That's slick.
But the other thing that gets crazy, you started talking about Kickstarters, and like one of my favorite things that they've started doing is physical releases. I talked about Pazak, right, from Coder, and how that was one of my favorite things in that limited run games collection was the actual cards to play Pazak. There are a lot of Kickstarters now that are doing that kind of thing with the virtual games in real life. So Orlog is the Viking game that you can play in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I just got my Kickstarter version of that. And one of the upgrades that you could do, like you could buy the basic set and it was very inexpensive. It was just cardboard tokens and stuff. But you could upgrade to real metal tokens and real wood deities, because you get a deity that's like your special power. And so you could upgrade it, and then you could upgrade it to like a fancy leather case with like leather dice cups and all this kind of stuff. So like it's just neat, like that those things are even possible, because to me it's so crazy to see the physical version of something that was only imagined digitally.
Yeah, no, I do like that. That is some cool stuff, and I agree with you. I mean, we've said it a few times at this point, but I mean, there's certain things that we're gonna collect that other people might think are silly, but they mean something to us, and that's why, like I was talking about, like with the Mist thing, I thought it was just so cool that there's an actual like functioning video player, and then the Hyperkin did something similar with the Duke controller, where it's like it plays the thing. That's pretty cool, though. That's really slick, Mellified. He's he just showed us in the video.
I'll put a link to the Kickstarter in our toys channel, but yeah, I mean, like that stuff's neat to me. The D&D Wizards of the Coast did something completely over the top. I don't even know how to explain this. They, for the 45th anniversary of D&D, they did a set of dice that are metal. It includes 2d20s, 1d12, 2d10s, 1d8, 4d6s, and 1d4 dice. And they actually inlaid a sapphire in place of the 20 on the d20s. And they look gorgeous. I mean, they're just beautiful. They come in a nice little case. But like that was, I want to say it was a $200 or $300 set just for dice. Like that is, crazy expensive.
What if you get it and it just rolls ones and you're like, God damn it.
Yeah. What if they didn't weight them properly? I was thinking
throw
about
it out
that.
the back door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's like stuff that I just don't even know, where do you even display that? Like you can't take that to D&D night at your buddy's house. I don't feel like maybe some people do. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think if you're going to like your buddy's place, but you're not going to go to a tournament with that, because then they're going to go buy. But like, like I want to build a custom. I've always wanted to build a custom like board gaming table that has a sunken in felt section, almost like a pool table, but like a section where like you can roll dice and they're not going to roll off the table.
Yeah.
That's something that I would like to do, and I think in places like that, that's where you can have that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
So you got me looking at these flip clocks now. Thanks.
Sorry, Jim. Sorry.
Okay, so first off, it's a Panasonic RC6025.
Yep.
And secondly, there is a forum called flipclockfans.com for restoring and collecting old flip clocks. Like, I guess that explains a lot of what we've been talking about. Is if you have a flip clock specific collector forum, there anything is possible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a place for everyone.
What's crazy is as much demand as there is for such things, and I see a crazy variety of retro clocks on Amazon. Nobody is doing like a reproduction of the one true clock that everybody would want. So that's a thing.
Which one true clock are you talking about?
The Panasonic. The one that sells for $300 to $400 a pop. Like if you can find one anywhere, like I saw them on like eBay and stuff for $300-400, and I'm like, ooh. But
right,
like you could just, for somebody that just wants a replica of, like they could actually make but what are the odds that some movie prop just becomes like a hot item, like what, 30 years later?
Yeah.
So like if you could predict it, like maybe you put something in a movie and then you buy up a big stock of whatever it is, and then create the artificial scarcity, and then just be like, oh, by the way, collectible.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have one more fun one to share. Somebody did a Kickstarter for Witcher dice that are really cool because they've got different Witcher symbols and stuff on them. The main attraction to them seems to be that they're metal with wood inlays.
That
and you could get them
easy.
Yeah, well, then you can get them in different colors and stuff. So they had a lot of different varieties of them. So those were kind of neat. But probably my favorite one is the element dice. So these are 6-sided dice that are pure samples of each of the elements on the periodic table. Now, they're just finishing up their 4th Kickstarter, and the 5th one is going to kick off in a couple weeks. And the idea is that they are slowly working their way through the periodic table. So every 6 months, they do another Kickstarter for the next 5 dice, and you buy them. And the idea is, eventually they'll get to the ones that you can actually make. But they have a wall mount that has slots with the it's got the periodic table on it. It's got slots for all the different elements, but these are intended to be 100% pure samples, or at least in the case of the gold ones where it would be super expensive, they do plated.
I want to talk to you about the plutonium ones, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's where I say I don't know what they're going to do. At some point, I think they're going to kind of run out of ones that they can legally get away with. But and they're doing even the noble gases. They have them as clear plastic with screen printing on them. So
what about the Element 115 dice, like the Lazar D20? They don't have to ship anything because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, just and they're $15 each, give or take. The solid silver one's $120 because that's actually
just
rare
the
metal,
display to put them in is $79.
Yes. So it's not cheap, no question, but and they do have different stands and stuff. You can get smaller stands if you just wanted a certain set.
Huh.
But
we could have pirate dice made from real teeth. It's like,
Yikes.
here's my donkey teeth dice set.
The
I saw
ones that-
I saw a video of a chick today.
Yeah.
It was for unrelated things. It was actually like a hair product thing that I don't even remember how the hell. Wife and I having a discussion, right? And then ended up looking at this thing. But then she's like an alternative chick, right? She's got the goth thing going. She's
Okay.
really hot. Okay. And then she was talking about like, you know, how she's into like alternative whatever. And then she holds her necklace up. And it was like, what the hell is that? She's like, yeah, and my necklace is like got real donkey teeth on it. I was
Donkey
like,
teeth?
donkey teeth. Yeah, it's more ghastly than you could imagine because it was like, it's horse teeth. Like, I've never seen horse teeth out of context before, and I really don't need to see them again, but sure. Donkey teeth necklace, man. Chicks are into it, I guess.
Well, this has been a very interesting episode of this. Did you say you
Oh my
lost
god.
Sam?
If you Google donkey tooth necklace, wow, there it is.
Crazy.
That's
Well,
apparently a thing.
Well, I think Mellified might have lost both of us or one of us or something
No,
like that.
I got
but
back. Yeah,
Weird-
I had a little glitch there.
Weird technical stuff with. I think Discord's had some issues because like the other night, like I was dropping in and out while playing with Sea of Thieves. But yeah, interesting episode we've had talking about collectibles and things in the gaming sphere. I'm really excited about the future. I think we should actually have some more discussions on some like collectibles and stuff like that. I know we've got a channel on our Discord, but I got some pictures of some things I got to show. So stop on by our Discord and show off some of your collections at discord.OtherWorldsGG. We've got a Minecraft server and an Unreal Tournament server, so come on by and play some games with us. We are always up for playing something. I've been playing a little bit more Sea of Thieves because I got some big content coming out this year, so I'm trying to ramp up my Pirate Legend stuff. So, but yeah. Oh, also, unrelated endorsement. Go check out the game Hero Siege. We're not being paid by them at all, but Jim and I were playing that the other night, and it's actually a pretty good game. I was really enjoying it. So it is currently on sale until February 3rd. I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but check it out anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, this has been episode 47. See y'all next time.
Yeehaw.